What's up, everybody? I hope y'all are doing well today. Welcome back to part 2 of our Summer 60 Challenge series. Hopefully, by now, you are in good rhythm. Walking is just normal to you. You're probably on mile 45 or 46 of the summer, which is an amazing feat. Hopefully, you know how water tastes. You can taste the difference between faucet water, alkaline water, well water, because we're telling you to drink so much water. And you're here today to just be encouraged one more time on this journey. So, Becca, tell us what we're talking about today, girl.
Okay. Yes, we are talking about one of my favorite topics, which is soul care. And here at Northeast, the approach we have to soul care is it's not something separate from the rest of you. Soul care is holistic. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning of the first episode, and we just want you to know that soul care isn't something that's reactive. We want there to be habits in your life. We want you to have rhythms. As a church, we talk about rhythms and restrictions a lot. And part of that is your physical, maybe rhythms and restrictions, your mental and your spiritual, the things that we've been doing this summer. So we hope that this summer has really helped you to form this view of soul care as holistic. It's every area, every facet of your life. And we also hope that that has helped you be able to see God in all of those facets and how he wants to move and work in your life. And in our first episode, like Terrence mentioned, we talked about and focused on health, and we have Gretchen with us. She was in the first episode, and she's going to be in this one talking with us about soul care. And Gretchen, if you haven't watched the first episode or listened, go back and do that. And she has her own business where she focuses on fitness and nutrition. She's a mom to a lot of kids.
A lot of
a grandma to just one, right?
Yeah.
One for now. And she just has a long history of just walking with the Lord through all of these. And so we're so happy to have you
Thank you for having me again.
here with us. So, Terrence, you want to kick it off for us with
Yes,
questions?
yes. You know, I grew up watching all the talk shows. I always wanted to be Montel or Sally. Oprah, all these people. So I get to do that
That's
today.
good.
I'm really excited to ask you all these questions. And so hopefully
All
I
right.
do justice. But question that we have for you, you've heard our definition of soul care. We talked a little bit off camera about how we see soul care here. Tell us a little bit about your own personal journey of soul care. What does soul care look like for Gretchen?
You know, I think it can change as you're like I feel like it took a shift for me a little bit on caring for, mind, body, spirit all in one to find that balance a couple years ago. And so it looks different now than it did when I had toddlers.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of always had a toddler. When you have 7 kids, you're like, there's always somebody in a diaper or something. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
as season change. So I don't think there's like a blanket answer. But for me here right now in this time frame at, I'm 51 and the kids can like survive on their own, I have those moments that I can have a little bit more quiet. But I'm still pretty busy because I have so many kids and I'm my own business. So for me right now, I've found a couple of things that really speak to my heart and soul the most and help fill me up to find balance. And that is one, and I started doing this about 3 years ago when my mom was in the process of dying. And I had very little time because I was home and then traveled 3 hours every weekend to go care for her, then come home. So I was completely exhausted 24/7. And so I started like really taking my spiritual time during my workouts. So I'll get up at 5, go out to the garage dash gym and turn on worship music. I might have a scripture already, that I'll look over like on my phone and I play that through, or I just have no music at all. And then I just have times of prayer. So it's like, wasn't a big deal at that point to like have times of like worshiping, praying, or crying, like in that time frame. So I've really kept that. Like it's either you usually hear worship music or, no music when I work out, which is like super weird because I came from a CrossFit world where I go rah rah rah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everything's like,
Right.
wow, this is really loud. You can't even like hear it all. So that was a huge shift for me. So my workouts they've always been a little spiritual for me, but a huge spiritual time for me. So that might be weird for somebody else.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so it doesn't have to be the same. Like, you don't have to do what I do, or,
Right.
it's something that connects you to the Lord, fills you up, and I'm actually able to knock it out with my fitness. So it's like a really good. The other thing that I do in my life on the daily, because I work out daily, because I either work out or do mobility because I'm a mobility specialist as well. So I am in the gym every day at for an hour. So that's an everyday time with the Lord. Then I will there's times I only get 15 minutes in between clients. And like yesterday I had 9 clients, 15-minute break in between. So like Thursday was my day.
Right,
It just kills me. I will take at least 5 to 8 minutes. If it's summer, I will go sit and directly look at the sun, just close my eyes. No phone, leave your phone away. And just have that time of meditation. I was challenged to do this by a individual, and she said, try it every day for 10 minutes. Leave your phone. Tell the kids they can't interrupt you if your kids are old enough to do that.
Yeah.
And and be quiet and just try to listen to God. And you're like, that's hard. Like,
Yeah, it's
holy
10 minutes is a longer time. than
like
you
you're
think
like,
it is.
okay, I hear a bird. Like you're
Yeah.
just start like doing these random things in your brain because we don't stop.
Yeah.
And so I try to do that at least 5 to 8 minutes, at least once. I know that sounds like such a little time frame, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Because we're in that go, 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 go.
Right.
Do. And so those are my 2 I do every day.
Wow, that's pretty good. I do want to go back to something because I know we have some youths that are listening or watching. When she said look directly at the sun, she also said close your eyes. So let's remember, let's not look directly at the sun with your eyes open. A big caveat in that. But I think that was a very helpful picture for us to get today, because I think if we went around the table right now, we all have different, spiritual practices. And I love what you said. I love how you started off and said it's not the same for everybody,
Yeah.
and that it can be seasonal. There are different seasons of life that necessitate different things, different intentionalities that you have to take. I know I tend to be just in a better natural well-being in the warmer months. But in the wintertime, I have to be a lot more intentional about how I'm taking care of myself mentally, because there is something too about sunlight. And if you know anything, if you live in Kentucky, I know we have some people that watch us in other places, but living in Kentucky in the wintertime is like living under a cloud. It's, for 3 months. And there is just something too about saying I need to intentionally maybe go sit under the lamp in my living room. Like the lamp is here. I'm going to sit literally right next to the lamp and feel the warmth of this light, to just simulate that I felt the sun on my body. Or, hey, right now we're in a season where we have a 3-year-old, and we just transitioned her from her crib to her own bed. And so if anybody's done that transition, you know that once they get that agency in the morning, your morning routine immediately changes. And so for me now, it has necessitated that I need to get up at least 30 to 45 minutes earlier than I was, because she can now open her own door and she'll just show up downstairs.
Yeah.
And if she shows up downstairs before I've had my shower, put my contacts in, started my coffee and read scripture, she's not going to get the best dad that she could possibly get, because she feels like an interruption to me.
Yeah.
And I never want her to feel like an interruption to me. And so it's just learning what things you need to do to go back to what you talked about in that first episode, to live out all God is calling us to be. And so I think that's huge. What's something you're doing right now, Becca, that's helping you outside of the Summer 60s? You can't use that as a cheat
Can't
code.
use the Summer 60. Man. Something that just I've discovered about me and how I feel closest to God, and how I feel just most encouraged and challenged in my walk. If you know me, you know I love to read. And for me, it's just reading something that's going to make me think. It's going to make me think about either like, why am I a Christian? Maybe it's going to make me think about a bit of theology. The things I just love to like mull these things over. I love to have conversations about them, but I love to think through them, and then I will just talk with God about them. And so that's one of the practices that I have incorporated in my life, just as I've understood. It's when I was in like grad school and I was getting that regularly because it was assigned to me and I had other people that I was going to be talking about that with. It came very naturally. But once I left that and wasn't in school anymore, and just because I'm working at a church doesn't mean that, my days are just sitting around and like meditating on the word,
Yes.
So it was something that I noticed that I started to feel something's missing, like something's going on where I'm not thinking about the things of God, which makes me feel like I come alive, which makes me feel connected to God.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about those things as often as I was. And so I've just had to make sure I get at least 15 to 20 minutes a day of reading something that's going to make me think. And I know that's not the same for everyone. Some people that sounds probably really awful to them, but that's just for me. It's going to make me think, and it's going to make me think about God, and it's going to make me enter into conversation with him about those things. And then naturally for me, that causes me to think about how to love his people better through these things that I've had to process and think. So that's just one of the many. And I feel like that was hard because some of the Summer 60s stuff is stuff that also helps me live very much in my body. Right. Like here, where I'm usually in my head. I usually have had a practice of trying to get outside, which is one of our things for Summer 60 is 20 to 30 minutes outside. Okay. And oftentimes I'll just get up here at the church and just like walk the parking lot. And nobody else is really doing that, so I don't run into anyone, and it just grounds me in my body, like in this moment. Here I am. I maybe see like a bird or something like that, and I'm like, oh God, like you're here. You made this. You're here with me. So
right, yeah, that's awesome. Now I hope what you're capturing here in our conversation is when we talk about soul care. Ultimately, what we're talking about is the peace that surpasses all understanding, and how we walk in that daily. Because no matter what, look through human history, look through Christian history, look through your own history, there will always be chaos circling around your life. Life is filled with buzzards flying around you. And that's just the reality. So we have to learn how to have peace beyond the circumstances around us. And so with that in mind, Gretchen, I had a question. What is, you've been doing this, and you mentioned that you have a variety of clients in different states. You work with older people, younger people. What has been some of the most persistent roadblocks for people, you think, when it comes to kind of pursuing a life of well-being and soul care?
So, I'm from a fitness and nutrition. I don't do mindset as much, or mental health as much. But so from that side of it, I would say there's two that really just, when you ask that question, just don't pop into my head. Number one is taking on the advanced habits or goals maybe before they have the minor, like the foundation, I should say. Kind of like your list, probably. I haven't seen your guys' habit list. But, like if you don't have enough water, then why worry about how many grams of protein? Like we get on these trends, and don't get me wrong, how many grams of protein you eat is important. But, that's a basic, like hydration. They just take on these advanced things because it's a trend. It's like how many hours should I be fasting? Well, let's just worry about what food you're putting in first. Is it quality? Is it the way God intended it to go into your body? That kind of thing. So they take on advanced things too quickly, and then this foundation's cracked, but they're throwing like blocks on top, and it's just good. Breaking more. Life's just not where it should be. So they need to start with the foundation and then work up. And so I think that's the first one. The second one, and I think this has a little bit more of a spiritual part to it, is kind of like the generational sins that come in, because that sounds a little crazy because you're a fitness and nutrition coach. But let me tell you, nutrition in generational things is real.
Yeah, I
Like
believe it.
that is like, and mindset comes into that as well.
Yeah.
So I have to overcome, especially, it could be the scale. Like what a scale will define someone's whole day. They get on the scale in the morning. It doesn't read what they think it should read based off the work they have done. And then they are a loser for the rest of the day.
Mm.
And a lot of times that is brought in from past. That's brought in from generational curses,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
and sins,
Yeah.
And so, like, that's a huge one for myself. That's something I've had to overcome and strive to overcome daily is things that were put into my head as a child based off looks more than health, right? Based off a number of scale more than health. Those are things that like Satan wants to distract us from. We care about a number.
Yeah.
Instead of what is your energy level.
Right.
I have all my clients rate, I call it the STREDS. So stress, hunger and cravings, recovery from workout, energy, digestion, and sleep. And I rate those every week before I meet with them. They can have all their shreds like are getting better and better. Those ratings, like their sleep's better, their energy's better. And they're even losing weight. But one day, because they had too much sodium the night before, the scale goes up, they're done. Like I have to get them off the bridge they're about ready to jump off of.
Wow.
And a lot of that comes back from generational things that are lies. Like really our worth is not based off a scale and our worth is not based off how we look. It's who we are. And so that's something I've had to overcome in my own walk and definitely have to help my clients overcome. I don't know how many times I've said to the kids or Brian before I go into a client session, and I know what the scale said because they report it in my app, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to talk this person off the bridge, because they want to jump off and then just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I put all this effort into it and it's not working. I'm like, but it is. Like you rated your energy as a 1 and now you're a 9. Like how much more are you able to do with your day? Like your digestion was poor and now you're actually going to the restroom properly. Like those are huge health factors that they have improved. But one thing. And it's not, most of them are even losing the weight that they have a goal to lose. But the scale, and most of the time it's because they ate out the night before. They don't realize most people gain 1 to 3 pounds from eating out the night before. Wow. It's from the sodium increase if they're used to eating at home, right? Or maybe their women's cycle does that, right? Yeah. So there's different things that cause, the scale to go up, but they're fixated. And that's just one example, but it's huge. Yeah. Huge. And that comes from things that they were taught, but they're like, well, grandma said.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's super fascinating because I think so often as we pastor people, so often as we're discipling people, we run into what I call core lies. That's how it was identified for me. And some places we call it our shadow side, the shadow that is always behind us and chasing us around. It's this core thing. For me in my life growing up, the lie that I have to fight and I continue to fight, I continue to submit it to the Lord is good, not good enough. That lie just chases me down. And so if I'm doing great, for instance, I preach here and I can preach a sermon and hit my time. I can, get my points across and I can see people respond, but then I will leave remembering at minute 22 when I stumbled on the word.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's going to be on camera that people are going to remember. And usually people don't remember that, but because of that core lie that's living inside of me that I'm continuing to submit to the Lord, that can come up and rise inside of me. And so I think so often when we're sitting with people, even as you're watching this, as you're sitting with yourself and you're processing all this information you're hearing, you're processing what does soul care look like for you. If you haven't identified what that core lie is, that core message that you need to fight against, that's just a good challenge practically from what you shared. Learn what that is and submit it to the Lord. Our soul care is based, again, solely in the freedom that we get from Christ and the identity that we get from Christ. If we leave those two things off of our daily lives, then are we really even walking the Christian life out?
Yeah.
Right.
And so we have to be fighting to cling to the freedom that Jesus came to bring. We have to be fighting to rest in that identity. And soul care kind of starts happening when you cling to those two things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say, Becca?
Yeah. I think that as I was just listening to you talk, I was thinking about how so often we can be doing, I mean, and this is kind of what you're saying, but we can be doing so many things good, but
Yeah.
then we notice the one wrong thing. And I think that that's not what the Lord does with us.
Right.
Like when he sees us living the Christian life, when he sees us, reading scripture, meeting him in prayer, spending time with our Christian community, and then maybe you get into an argument with your spouse and you say something that was really unkind, and then you're like, man, God is so mad at me because I did that. Whereas he's like, no, I don't want you to do that, obviously. But he's like, look at all these other things that you've been doing in your life, the things that are helping you to see what should have been the thing that you did in that situation. I just think it depends. How do we see God when he looks at us? Like when we think about God and how he sees us and how he views us, I feel like he's cheering us on when we choose to go to small group, when we choose to go to church on Sunday, when we choose to open up our Bible and read it, when we choose to take a walk and care for our bodies. And then when we do mess up, he's not like, how dare you? How dare you have done that? He's like, hey, I see that and I want better for you, and let me show you what that thing is. And so it's that thing of like where he has that grace for us and that mercy for us, and we need to have that for ourselves. And sometimes when I think about our like inner narrative, the things that we sometimes say to ourselves that we would never say to another person. And I just think sometimes we all need to be just a little bit kinder just to ourselves.
Good word.
We just need to be just a little more kind. That's fruit of the Spirit right there.
Yeah.
Kindness.
I think it goes like when I'm working with clients and even kind of working with myself, right?
Yeah.
Because we're daily workers.
Right.
Is, when we have those lie moments, like you said the word wrong and, the sermon or whatever, or like whatever the issue is that we're battling is I will make my clients like, why does that matter to you? Like, why does that? And then we keep going deeper until like, usually we find something that has occurred in their past that they either haven't let go of. Right. And so there's ways that like Satan is very crafty, and we think like, I just need to be better. Wherein we need to say like, why do we think we need to be better?
Yeah.
And go down to the root of the what caused that, and then ask him to help us get rid of that.
Yeah.
And then that's where like healing really takes place.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so good. I mean, I just think, I just hear two things. Number one, man, we have to be careful how we're allowing ourselves to see our God. I think it's okay for us to know that God can be proud of us. So many people don't give themselves the ability to imagine a Father in heaven who would say, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to conflate that we're earning our salvation. But yeah, we know that our salvation is a gift from God through Jesus Christ. Yet at the same time, he loves to give his children good gifts. And one of those gifts are his affirmations that we can receive. And I think so often we leave those off of our plate and we just say, I need to cling to the word. I need to stop sinning. I need to serve at church and go to church and maybe I'm doing this Christian thing right. And that is not a recipe for peace.
No.
Because, we got a tracker. The tracker that we're using for Summer 60 is just to help you stay on top of it. But then we can start making a tracker kind of like a weight or a yoke that Jesus never intended for us to have on. And so I think it's so important for us to begin to see God better. And then I love what you said, how are we speaking to ourselves, and just remembering that we have to preach the gospel to ourselves every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
you hear the gospel, it's a one time, and it's like, I'm converted, and now let's move on to the next thing. And like, no. You need the gospel every single day of your life.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
preach the gospel to yourself every day.
Mhm.
That's going to be a huge difference when it comes to soul care and having peace, because we all are going in and out of different roles and different seasons and different situations in our life that can begin to speak different messages to us. And we have to be careful that we don't believe all of them.
Yeah.
We got one more question here that I want to throw at you, and
Okay.
this one is based on you just being an amazing feat of nature. All right, an amazing feat of nature.
Prepare
So-
yourself.
Okay.
You're-
I'm not
you-
sure where this is going.
No, see, you're a mom of a litter of kids. You know,
Okay.
I've had the privilege of watching all of my children come into the world. I watched my wife give birth 4 times, and praise God, you know,
What a woman.
what a woman, and praise God for His created order. All right, because I don't know if I have the intestinal fortitude to have to go through that. But it is such a beautiful thing. But as you watch it, you immediately realize, yeah, this is a heavy and hard thing too. And so, and I've watched my wife walk out motherhood, and I've watched her grow in her faith, and there are just some different things that come from just being a mom
Yeah.
and trying to walk out your faith. And so, could you share with us from a perspective of a mom? There are a lot of moms, a lot of tired moms out there that are probably listening to this. They're trying to do the Summer 60. They wish maybe going for a walk is really hard because of their kids and
Yeah.
life in general.
Mhm.
Just give us some things from your heart over the years of just being a mom and just pursuing soul care. You know, how would you encourage them to take care of themselves?
Well, it does come in phases, like you said, and each individual is family unit, mom, everybody is going to be different. It's
Right.
not like one blanketed answer that I can give. Because if I give one, I might put somebody in a trap on accident and make
Okay.
them feel very defeated.
Mm.
So, I'm going to give some ideas and suggestions, but, what work with some will not work for others. And everybody, we fall in a comparison trap. I think women tend to be worse.
Yeah.
So for somebody to go like, she had 7 kids and she can still work out. Yeah. Like it looked different,
Mm-hmm.
now versus then. And, I didn't start lifting weights till I was about 40. So up until that point, it was like, I hope I get a little walk in. You know what I mean? Like it was really different. And the reason I started was out of necessity to rebuild and heal my body. So
Right.
I don't want people to go, like she's 51 and she can work out every day and she has 7 kids. Like it didn't start there.
Right.
Don't fall into the comparison trap. That is huge. Give yourself grace. No matter what answer I give, it will not be for everyone. So that's really important to know. But like I said, I've always been one that needed to move my body. I'm not one that just sit. I don't sit. I've just never that's just not who I am. I'll clean or something,
Yeah.
but I don't just sit around. So when I had the phases where I wouldn't have probably been able to do what I do now. I put little longer workouts in and stuff like that. But I would do something for at least 10 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
And sometimes it was really silly stuff as far as fitness. I'm going to use that as an example. I knew I didn't have time for a real workout. So every time I'd go down a hallway, I would do a wall sit for a minute. So it was
Okay.
I call them trigger workouts. So every time you go by this clock, do a wall sit for a minute. You can build your quads that way. So I would do silly stuff like that. So it's about looking at your life. I'm thinking of a mom with young kids right now.
Okay.
It's about looking at your life and saying, what window do I have? Here's a really, really important thing that I tell all my clients when they come in, because I have workouts that are as short as 20 minutes because of moms, right? And so they'll go I can't even fit in this 20-minute workout. You have to schedule it. I don't care if it's reading your word, meal prepping, making a grocery list, working out, or taking a walk. When you're in the heat of raising children, if you don't put it in the calendar, it's not going to happen. And it might not even happen if you put it on the calendar. But as silly as this is, put down, let's say, quiet time with the Lord.
Yeah.
Put it down in a window of each day. Like actually like put it on your Google Calendar or whatever
Yeah.
calendar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like make a block. If you can't find a window to make a block, then you know you have a problem.
Yeah.
Mm.
Something's going
Then
on.
something is out of whack.
Mm.
So then you could look at their day. Look at one day at a time and like, there's no way Wednesday I can do XYZ. Okay, then can anything be taken off?
Yeah.
You know, if so, what can be taken off so that you can get the walk and pray?
Mhm.
So you could do a workout. So you can meal, whatever it is like on their list that they want to become balanced
Mhm.
and whole in their walk.
Mhm.
Schedule it.
Yeah.
And a lot of my clients are like, there's no time. And I'm like, well, that's your problem.
Yeah.
Like they go like, okay, I'm going to sign up and do your workouts for 20 minutes. Okay, great. If you don't have a time to block, then that is your problem. So that's huge. Like find that window, and then it allows them to prioritize. Like they might realize this area, this gray area here that's taking up 2 hours a week needs to go. It's not as important
Right.
as my time with the Lord, my workout, getting healthy. I don't feel good, right? So schedule. That would be the biggest thing for them to do. And that's one that everybody pretty much can do, even if they're in the crazy.
Yeah.
Even nursing moms, like, you know,
Yeah.
schedule your quiet time while you're nursing or anything.
Yeah.
Like schedule it out. Figure out when you're going to do whatever it is that you want to be your first habit, the first thing you want to start with. And I think that it would be a really good starting point for the moms.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good. That's really good. Yeah, schedule is always the hard thing. I know
Yeah.
my wife, she has to do a lot of habit stacking. That's kind
Yeah.
of a new cheat code. One last thing, and I'm gonna throw it to you, Becca, to close us out with
Yeah.
a pastoral thought. All right?
I got
So
one.
I need you to
I got
dig
one.
deep and give us something
I
good.
got one. or
But
more.
Gretchen, take us just to less of the doing and more of the being. All right, what is it that you would encourage somebody out there who's struggling right now to just find balance, find peace? Whether they may be on a physical journey, it may just be a parenting journey, it may just be a longevity walking with the Lord journey. I know some of your story, and I know that even has been just a journey of just the nuances of doing life in the church and all the different things that come along with just maintaining a healthy faith. What is something that you would give to somebody today to say, if you can do anything, do this, be this, live this? What would it be?
I think that's deep.
I'm a deep person.
That's we can always count on parents for the deep.
But as you were saying, the thing that I kept thinking in my brain, I feel like maybe this is where the Lord's want me to go with it, is accept who you are. So you can't be if you don't love,
Yeah.
like who and what and where you're at.
Yeah.
So again, that kind of goes back to the comparison thing.
Yes.
You can't be Susie when you're Gretchen, you know, and you can't. So, but if you accept who you are, it goes back to we are His workmanship.
Yeah.
We are His creation, and He has prepared our bodies, our mind, and our spirit for this moment, for this time. If we can embrace that, that's where peace comes in. The comparison goes, and then we can walk out each day, going, "It's okay. I don't get to do that." Because I'm here, and this is what He has for me at this time. It's okay that I'm not like Joe, because I'm right here, right now. This is what He has for me. And how can I best live it out and cling to Him in each moment and each step as I live it out? And so that's what I
That's good.
felt like He has.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I love that so much. Because I think everything around us is telling us not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay who you are. It's not okay to just be who you are right now. And I've had some conversations over the last few days where I keep thinking about before Jesus started His ministry. And before He even began, God said, you know, this is my son in whom I am well pleased. And it's like, He hadn't done a thing yet,
Yeah.
at least
Yeah.
publicly. You know, he'd had his private life of growing up, but He hadn't done anything that we read about pretty much,
Yeah.
you know, and God was like, I love him. He
Yeah.
hasn't done a single thing yet, and I love him just for who he is. And so that's just so good. I hope anybody listening that you, if you are feeling like that's not true of you, that you just take a moment and pause and let God speak that over you. As we just close this episode, I want to give 2 encouragements. One, if you have not been doing well with our Summer 60, hop back on the train. It's not too late. It's never too late to start. Start now. If you maybe did like a week and you stopped, let's start again. Let's do it today. It's not too late for you. It's not too late for any of us. And the second thing is that as you've maybe listened today and as you've thought, oh, I've been doing these things, I've been engaging in these soul care practices, but those underlying things have come up. And you've noticed that maybe there's those root things, like you were talking about, Gretchen, those things that, why do I have this narrative in my head? Or why, when this thing happens, I get totally thrown off? You know, that's part of our growth and maturity in Christ, is that as we grow, as we mature, he helps us to dig down deeper and to reveal those things that we can then lay before him. God's not scared of it. He's not scared of it. He's not going to shame you for it. He wants to help you just acknowledge that thing, and he wants to help you heal so that you can then share that thing with others. I love Terrence is big on evangelism and your testimony. And I always say that like nobody can argue with your story because it's your story. And so as we do our soul care practices, I think that that's something really big that I just want to encourage everybody, is that as the things come up, the deeper things, the things that maybe you've never said out loud, God's not scared. He's ready. He's willing. He's wanting that for you, actually. He's wanting you to take that next step and to share it. And that's just as much part of your health as taking care of your body. It's going for a walk. We are just so excited for everyone that's chosen to join in with us on our Summer 60. And thank you, Gretchen, for joining us. This has been really fun. And church, we love you. Go love the Ville. I did that at the end of the first one.